Hi friends, welcome all of you. I hope my voice is audible and my screen is visible. Okay, so the indicators are showing that. Now let's recap what we have learned yesterday. Docker and Kubernetes. Docker is a containerization tool. That means to launch containers, we need to install Docker. Like, for example, if you want to launch virtual machines, we need to have Hyper-V or VMware. Like that, to launch containers, we need Docker, and Docker is one of the container runtime engine, right? So, and Kubernetes is a container orchestration platform or container orchestration tool. What is orchestration? We will understand going forward. Okay. So first, related to Docker, we have very important terminologies. First, what is container? Running instance of a Docker image is called as container. What is image? Image consists of the application along with its libraries or dependencies, we can call it, right? That is, now when we execute this image or when we run this image, then we will get the container. And all these images will be stored in some central server called as container registry. Container registry contains what? Container images. And Docker Hub is the default public container registry, right? So then Docker client is nothing but Docker CLI, which we use to interact with the Docker engine. What is Docker host? The machine in which Docker is installed is called as Docker host. So to launch containers, we need to install Docker in some host, and we can install Docker in Windows, in Linux distribution as well. But in real time, we will be using Linux distributions only. That's why let's get a virtual machine from AWS, which we have already seen yesterday. I will repeat that thing today also. aws.amazon.com is the AWS website. Sign into the console. Then log in as your root user or IAM user. If you have IAM user, think that it is wrong. Yeah, password is correct. I'm in Mumbai region. Then I want to go to compute section, and in compute we need to go to this EC2 Elastic Compute Cloud. Go to instances. Okay, clear this tab if you want. Click on launch instances. Because we are going to install Docker in this machine, I'm naming this as Docker, and it is for dev environment. Okay, I can name it as Docker dev, Docker prod. Based on region also you can give. Okay, Ubuntu. Okay, so now I'm taking little at 20 version, Ubuntu 20 version. So few days back that Ubuntu 18 was removed from this, right? So now T2 micro, I don't think it is sufficient for me. So I will take somewhat higher instance, which consists of 2 virtual CPUs and 4 GB of memory. And I want to use the existing key pair. Yesterday we have created make key pair. So that key pair I want to use here, and network settings and all those things I want to keep default. And if we have the knowledge of VPC and all, then you can create your own VPC and you can put this server in that particular VPC and subnet. And I want to use existing security group, and that is default security group. If you want to create your own security group, you can create and you can choose it here. Then, so this storage is sufficient for me, and I want to have only one instance. That's why I'm clicking on launch instance, which will take about 3 to 4 minutes for this virtual machine to be up and running. And this is a Linux machine, and it is created in the AWS cloud, and I'm in Telangana state, and my machine is in Mumbai data center, and it is remote, and I need to access this remote machine. Even if you are in Mumbai, beside the data center also, you have to connect to that particular instance through SSH. Then for that, click on instance ID, click on connect here. Here you will be getting the public IP address and username. This public IP will be given in the properties also. But if you click on connect, here it will be giving the Ubuntu as the user name. Deepak is asking T2 medium is free. T2 medium is not free. Okay, and my account is pay as you go account. My free tier is already expired, but I don't know why it was showing that free tier eligible. Generally it was showing, but my account is pay as you go account. Okay, it's paying account, it's not free tier account. I think you can check if you go to your AWS, and there you can check whether it is free tier eligible or not. Okay, so that's fine. This is Ubuntu. I will go to mobile XTERM. I will click on session. Here in this, the SSH option is there. Click on SSH. In case of remote host, we need to give the public IP address. Copy this public IP address here, and the username is Ubuntu, and browse for the key, and the key was there in the download section. The key is this one. I clicked on OK. So with that, I connected to the remote machine, which is there in the AWS cloud. Now I'm operating that machine from my local. So I will log in as the root user. Then how to install Docker? Okay, so I need to go to my Google Drive. Kubernetes nodes also, let me open. Beside this, oh sorry, I think I have opened both Kubernetes nodes. I will open Docker nodes now. So how to install Docker? Just if I remember, yeah, this is where I can find it. So with this, the script will be downloaded into our machine. This is from official website. Okay, whatever the script, if you go here, what will be there? The script will be there to install Docker. This is the shell script. This script we can run to install Docker in our machine, and that I'm taking that to output to this file. So with that, that file will be created. Then I'm executing that shell script with that Docker will be installed. Now, once the Docker is installed, that means I can launch the containers. To launch a container in our Docker host, we need to download the container image. Where is container image? I will tell you now. Container images will be stored in container registries. This is our Docker host machine. This is our Docker host machine. This is Docker host machine, and this is Docker hub. This is what? Docker hub. Docker hub. So here the images will be stored. Let's go to the Docker hub. hub.docker.com is the website name. So you don't need to have any account. You don't need to have account with the Docker to download the images which are public in nature. Okay, so we can create our account and we can upload our own images to this, but that will come into different section where we will be creating our own Docker images. Now search Docker Hub. I just want to search for Ubuntu. If you see this is Ubuntu is a Debian based Linux operating system based on free software. It's a open source. So different flavors of Ubuntu were given by different organizations. That is fine. So this is the image which we have to download into our Docker host to run a container. Okay. So we need to download the image to our Docker host machine. Into our Docker host machine, we need to download the image. For example, let's download Nginx server. For that, we have to just simply search for Nginx and hit enter. And the first or the second one, the first one, which is shown is the Docker official image. Okay, this is official build of Nginx. If you see for Nginx, about there are 10,000 Docker images are there, and they are from different organizations. Some are from the private persons, which they may make public. Okay, but our concern is the first one. See how many pulls were there? This much of big number, and coming to this, it's very lesser and it is somewhat bigger. So based on pool, and there is high demand for the official Docker image, right? So this is, if I click on this here in overview, it will be giving the details about this, the ports and other things, the configuration that they have used. If you are already aware of Nginx as part of DevOps, then you can go into that details, right? So first, to run this Nginx container in our Docker host machine, the Nginx image, which is there in the Docker hub, has to be downloaded. This is the Nginx image. Of course, latest image we will we will come to know about the tags later. This image has to be downloaded into our local machine, not local machine, into
So
our.
1 minute, sir. I have one question. You told we need to get it from the registry, but you're saying it's a hub. What is the difference between the hub and the registry, sir?
This is the Docker website. Okay. So they have put that in this particular UI form. So the registry will be docker.io. They will be stored in some central server and they were displayed in this Docker hub.
Okay. Storing is the in the registry, but displaying in the hub.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they made it available in this particular thing for usability purpose. Got it? So here, this thing will be the description and everything, the other web pages will be given related to that particular thing. Okay. So actually the image, if you are pulling the Nginx image means we are pulling the docker.io/Nginx. It will be there in the docker.io server. Got it? And that is linked to this. And they are listed in this way. Got it? Okay. Now, and we will also create the docker.io type of container registries. For example, ACR, some website name .io will be there. So there you will understand the registry. Okay. Now we are trying to download this image to Docker host machine. Okay. So we need to download this. What happened to it? Why it's not coming? That thing has to come, right? Oh, it has come. Okay, I don't want to waste time there. Or else let me Control C, Control V. We should go. Okay, I think it has very. We need to download this into our Docker host machine. Now, what I will do is, for that we have a command called Docker pull. This is very important command. Docker pull the nginx and the latest image. These tags we will come to understand later. Nginx latest, that means the Docker images will be versionized. Tomorrow, today it is nginx v1, tomorrow it may be v2, like that. So we are trying to pull the latest version of the nginx Docker image, which is there in the Docker hub. So when we hit this, see, the image will be pulled, and image will be pulled in the form of layers. What are layers? We will understand going forward. Okay. Now, even if you don't give this latest tag, by default, latest image will be pulled. Okay. So the image will be pulled. See, this is how the container, this is the server where this nginx image will be stored. Now, how to check whether this image is pulled or not? And before understanding that, I have just given Docker pull nginx. I didn't mention from where it should be pulled. You may be having multiple public Docker registries, but where it is pulling the image from, it is specifically pulling the image from the Docker hub only, because by design, when we install Docker, it will be integrated with the Docker hub. So if you are not mentioning anything, by default, it will be pulled from the Docker hub, right? So it is already pulled. Now let's try to pull it again. It is already there. Then how to check the images that are there in our host machine? How many images were there and what were they? How to check it? For that, Docker image ls. Docker image ls will give the list of Docker images that are existing in our Docker host machine. So if you see, this is the repository and this is the tag. This is the image ID and it is unique ID assigned to the image once it is downloaded into our machine. Then it was created 43 hours ago, but to be frank, it was not created 43 hours ago. It was created long back, but it might be updated 43 hours ago. Which one? This nginx, but they must be giving here some created / updated, but they didn't give. Okay, that may be a flaw. And the size of that particular nginx image is 142 MB. And this 142 MB consists of what? Nginx application along with its dependencies, right? So now let's pull Jenkins. If you want to pull Jenkins, we need to know the Jenkins official Docker image. If you see, this is updated 5 years ago, and here itself it was given that this image is deprecated. Use nginx / Jenkins, and the same thing is given here. Jenkins / Jenkins is the official image for Jenkins application, and same was updated 5 days ago. If we want to run Jenkins, we need to pull this image. Docker pull Jenkins / Jenkins. This is Jenkins / Jenkins. What is this class? We will understand when we are creating our own image. And there we will be having our own Docker ID / the image repository. We will understand that later. And here we have many layers than the that were there for the nginx. Now, Docker image ls or Docker images, anything can be used. Here we have 2 images. And if you see, this is the image, this is the ID, and it is repository actually. Okay, and repository and images can be synonymous used. Aditya is asking what is image. Yesterday also I have told, today also I have told. Okay. An image consists of the application along with its libraries. For example, if you take Jenkins, Jenkins application will be there. Jenkins application means the source code for the Jenkins. And to run Jenkins, what we need to have? We need to have some dependencies. Jenkins needs some dependencies, for example, Java. So that dependencies along with the application source code packed together is called as Docker image. Those Docker images will be stored in central server to launch the containers from the image. That image has to be downloaded into the Docker host machine. Docker host machine is nothing but the machine in which Docker is installed. Once the image is downloaded into the Docker host, we can launch the container from it. Right now, we have downloaded two images. One is for Jenkins, another one is for Nginx, and unique IDs were assigned to the images. Right? Then, once this is done, we need to run what container? How to run container? That is the question now. To run container, Docker run is the command, or to be specific, Docker container run or container. You may not be specifying that. You can run Docker run. You can type Docker run. I want to run a container. To run a container, what we need? We need image. That image we have to specify. Now let's specify Nginx and what version of Nginx? The latest tag. Okay, this is what the tag is. Okay, so Nginx latest. So I want to run a container from image. Which image? This image. If you give this image, container will be running from this image. But I want to run the container from this image. So this is how we have to specify that. Hit enter. If you hit enter, see Nginx is up and running. Nginx is running, and these are the application logs. Right? How to check whether this container is running? So the logs are displayed here. We can't run other commands here. So to check it, what we can do is we can duplicate this tab. And I'm opening another session for the same machine. Okay, now we have a command called docker ps. Docker ps is the command which will show the list of running containers. Now hit enter. See the Nginx container, and container is assigned with some ID. Some random name will be given to the container. So this is physical something like Hypatia. Some name was given, some random name will be allocated. And here the important thing is the container ID. It is unique. It is unique in the machine. And this container is created from this image. Okay, and it was created 48 seconds ago. And this is the command that is executed first. And the status is up. It was up from 47 seconds ago. And this is the port. We will understand all these things going forward. Okay, so but what if we want to create another container? Do we need to run another container here? And let's do it. Docker run. Let's create the container from what? Jenkins image. Okay, which we have already downloaded. See, Jenkins application is up and running. How much time it took? Within seconds, our Jenkins is up. This is the advantage of the containers. Very fast, very rapidly, the instances will be launched using Docker. Now,
Sir,
if I want to
one more
run
question. One more question. We said it is the application dependencies and the source code. So meaning the source code is always running. That's what it is a process inside a the container or what, sorry, so that we get the response. For example, if the process inside the container stops for some reason, do we see that the image will be running?
Not image. No, image won't. Yeah. For example, we can see what is the source code and all things. Okay, I will show you that. For that, we have a command. We will come to know that we need to go inside the shell of the container. As you have said, that is rightly asked. And the application is running inside. Can we go inside that and can we see the files and all those things? Right? That's what your question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We will learn that. We will learn that. We have Docker exec command. Okay, so there we will understand that is very important command to interact with the Docker container. Okay, we will come to know that going forward.
Sir, sorry to interrupt, sir. Actually, I was absent yesterday. Maybe you have covered that, but I just want to have a clarity. Now, what is the thing is that when you have run the Docker command, you said that it has been executed or whatever that has been happened. So it means that whatever the dependencies, whatever the files, all those things are being loaded, right?
Yeah, yes, all things will be loaded. For example, let's say you want to install some software in your machine. First, what you will do, you will download it. It is kind of image. Then once we double click and install, it will be coming into running state, the application. Then that is similar to container, and whatever the file that is downloaded, it is kind of analogous to the Docker image.
So what is the default place where it is been downloaded and installed? Any kind of?
Yeah, folder will be there. Folder will be there. I will show you that. Okay, I will show you that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah. So I will show you that in a moment. So here, generally in the single Docker host, we may run multiple containers. So do we need to create every time an instance of this particular Ubuntu machine? No, we have an option to run the container in detached mode. To run the container in detached mode. So for that, what we will do is let's cancel this, Control C, kill this process. It is exited. Now let's check Docker PS. Only Jenkins is running because Nginx was killed. Now I will come here and I will apply Control C so that Jenkins is also stopped. Now I am closing this all together. I don't want to have these many tabs. I want to open only one instance. Okay, one session. So Docker PS. What happened to those containers? Those containers were stopped. But here, the Docker PS command will show only the running containers. To get the running as well as stopped containers, we have a command with A as the option, which stands for all. Docker PS A, which stands for all containers. It will show whether they are running or they are in stop state. If you see this, see Jenkins container. This is the container ID and this is the Nginx container. The two containers were in exited state. Okay, so they were exited. I want to remove them. I don't want them anymore. So to remove them, we have a command called Docker RM. Stands for remove. Remove what? Containers. Which containers? With IDs we have to keep it. Copy that ID and copy the another ID of another container. So with the space, if I give this, these two containers will be removed. And if I run Docker PSA, the containers won't be shown. And if I run image ls or images, your images will be stored. Your images are there. Nothing happened to them. They are still there. We have removed the containers, but not the images. Now, somebody asks, where are these images downloaded when we have used Docker pull command. For that, we will be having where lib Docker. Okay, this is the Docker working directory. This is the directory. If I go to see here, image is there. Okay, CD overlay. Where will be there? Anyway, they will be there in this folder, friends. You can search about it, or else let me explore. See this, as I said, this is UPFN that will be given in this. Document they are stored inside the Docker directory. Fine, but they are not there here, right?
No, I think it is stored in image. That's what where lib Docker under image. Yes.
Yeah, I have
List.
gone to that also. Okay, anyway, they will be there here on the somewhat post machine directory where it is given very good but overlay. Okay. Okay, no, most places we don't, but the you can manage the storage rather. Positives. Okay, definitely they will be there somewhere, friends. Okay, so please work on them. Let's not go into it. Definitely they will be there in this particular directory and insert some directory there. Okay, where lib Docker. Okay, clear. Now, these are the two images. Now, what I said earlier, to run a container, what we have done, because the logs are shown on the display, if we want to launch another container, we are opening another session and we are running that. And if we want to run another container, we need to open another session. To eliminate that, we have an option, Docker run. Okay. Before that, earlier we are getting some random name for the Docker container. Now we have name flag hyphen name. I want to name my container on my own. Earlier we didn't use it. So by default, some random name has been allocated to the container by the Docker. Now I want to name it as my nginx. It can be anything, my nginx or C1 or C2, anything you can give, my nginx. And I want to run this in detached mode. That means it will be running in the background. The logs won't be shown on the console. If it is not shown, then I will be able to run another command freely on this. Now, so I'm trying to create a container and I want to name the container as my nginx and I want to run this container in the detached mode. And we need to provide the image name. What's the image name? Nginx latest is the image. This is mandatory. See, with that, see, the container is running. How can I say that? Docker PS. This is the container ID. And one strange thing here is, if you see, this is the container ID and this is also container ID. It is some shorthand form of this. Only first few characters will be taken and that will be the container ID. Okay. And this is unique ID. Okay. So this is how it was truncated when it is shown here. And this will also be working as the container ID. It's not that we need to keep this entire thing. Okay. You can keep this one also. This is running. So I can freely launch another container. Now let's launch Jenkins. Now let's name it as my Jenkins. And I also want to run this in detached mode. And what's the image? The image is this one. Okay, with that, Jenkins will also be running. Yes, it is up and running. Docker PS is a command. See, Jenkins is also up and running. And what is the name of our Jenkins container? I'm just minimizing it. See, if you see, my Jenkins is the Jenkins container name, and this is the Nginx container name. If we do not mention this name flag, and if we don't give the name, what happened earlier, Docker will be giving some random name. Deepak is asking how we will see the logs of engineering. It is detached. Yeah, Deepak, you are thinking very ahead, okay, of us. That is what we are going to learn, right? We will learn it. We will learn it. So the next command I want to execute is that one only. So please be patient. Okay. So I love your proactiveness. Now, as you said, the container was running in the detached mode, but I want to see the logs of the container as the logs were coming. How to see that? For that, we have a command called Docker logs. Docker logs, logs of which container? That container we have to mention. Docker logs. Let's get the logs of Nginx. See, these are the logs. Now I want to see the logs in live. So for that, we have F flag. So if I use this, it will show the container logs as they are coming. Okay, so I'm exiting from this. And if I want to see the logs of Jenkins, then we have to give the container ID or container name. Anything will work. So container name is remembered. So Aditya is asking what is log. Okay, so log means what is happening to the application. Okay, that is called as log. Docker PS. See, the containers were running. Now I want to stop this container. For example, we will be stopping our laptops. We will be stopping our virtual machines. If you go to AWS, the EC2 instance you can stop for some time. That means you may shut down it for some time. Not shutting down. Yeah, it's equivalent to a shutting down here. Now, Docker stop is the command to stop the container. Stop. Which container? My Nginx container I want to stop. If it is stop, it won't be shown here because the Nginx container was stopped. But if I want to get the status of all these things, we have to use Docker ps-a. Always use ps-a command so that it will show both running as well as exited containers. See, if you see the my Nginx container was in exited state because we have applied Docker stop command to stop the container. Now, what if I want to start it again? Docker stopped. Docker stop. What's the container name? Nginx. So we have started it. Docker PS. If you apply this, now that will be shown in the up state. And let's use -a also. If you see, there is no exited containers. We have only 2 containers in our Docker host running, and those 2 containers are Nginx and Jenkins, and they are in up state. Right? Now, while these containers are running, I'm going to images and I'm trying to remove the image. How to remove the image? To remove image, Docker RMI stands for remove image. Which image? Either you can give the image name or you can give the image ID. Okay, let's give the image name itself. This image I want to remove. See what will happen. See, error response from daemon conflict, unable to remove repository reference Nginx latest, must use post container with this ID is using its referenced image. So when the container is running using that image cannot be removed. To remove the image, we need to remove the container first, then only we can remove the image. Now let's do it. How to remove the container? Docker PS. Docker RM is the command to remove the container. Nginx is the container name. Okay, now let's remove it. See, we are getting error message saying that error response from daemon. You cannot remove a container which is running. You cannot remove a running container. To remove a container, the container has to be stopped. How to stop the container? Docker stop my nginx. Yeah, the container will be in stopped state now. Now we can happily remove it. Now I want to remove Jenkins container also. To remove the Jenkins container, now what we need to do, we have to stop it first if it is running. But I don't want to stop it. I want to forcibly remove it. To do that, Docker rm force Jenkins. So that means even if the container is running, it will be stopped by force and it will be removed. Now let's check PSA command. See, no container is running in our Docker host machine as we have removed them forcibly. Coming to images, images will be there. Images will be still there. To remove image, we need to use RMI, either image name or image ID. We can use to remove both the images. We can use the two images with space. With that, there is no image in our machine. It is cleaned. And one thing is, Docker images will occupy space. Okay, if you are keep on downloading the image and you are running the container, and if you are not removing the images, once you stop the containers, the images will be piled up in our machine and it will throw out of memory issues also. In pipeline, when we pull the image and when we run the container, and once we stop the container, and if we want to get the free space, then we have to remove the image also. Generally, we will create our image and we will be pushing the two container registries. When we have pushed it, we will be removing that in our Docker host machine. That will be there in the pipeline. So those commands also I will give in sequence once the Docker file concept is over, and once the playing with the container registries, especially the private container registries, is over. Now I want to run a container. For that, we need to download the container image into our Docker host machine. But can we run a container without downloading the Docker image in our host machine? Yes. For that, we have a command, but that command will also download the image first. The image has to be downloaded in any form. So to download it, we have used Docker pull command. We don't need to use pull command directly. We can use run command. That run command, what it does. Now let's see on screen. Docker run. I want to name the container as C1. And I want to run this in detached mode, and the image that I want to use is latest. So if you see, the Docker image is not existing in our Docker host machine, but still I am directly running the container from that image. So what it does is the Docker will try to look for this image in this local, in the host machine. It will first try to search this image in this local machine. If it is not there, then it will consult the Docker hub. From there, it will be pulled into the Docker host machine and the container will be launched. Let's see that. See, unable to find this nginx image locally, so it is being pulled from the library. So it is being pulled as images. These images concept we will see. So the image is downloaded, and once it is, the container will also be running. Docker ps. See, container is running. The container name is C1. Let's see the images. So if you see images, the image is downloaded. The image will be downloaded first, and from that container will be created. This is one thing. These are all basics. The most important section of the Docker course is creating custom Docker images using Docker file and pushing them to the container registries, the private container registries, and pulling from there with authorization, all those things we will be learning. And we have volumes concept, network concept, and other concepts also we will be learning one after the other. Okay, so this is full images, tag image. This is not to be discussed here. Push and tag, commit also not here, build also not here. Search we can use just to search images. Search, it will search the images with that particular name in the Docker Hub. If I search Nginx, so these are all the images that are there in the Docker Hub for Nginx, right? So this is one of the least used command. So now Docker system prone to delete all the images which are not attached to the container. We can directly execute this Docker system prone. Now what we will do is let's try to pull some images. Docker pull Nginx. Jenkins. Oh, we can't pull multiple images at a time. Docker pull from me. Tomcat is somewhat bigger in size. That's why it took relatively higher time than that. Docker images. See, the Tomcat image size is this much, whereas the Nginx application size, the image size is this one. Now I want to remove these images in one single shot. So for that, Docker system prune -a, it will be asking for confirmation, right? Hit enter. If you see, Nginx image is not removed because a container is attached and the container was running by using this Nginx. So that's why this is not removed. So to remove the image, the container should be in stop state. Right. Okay, anyway, let's remove that C1 container. That is fine. Now, this thing we need to discuss. Docker run, name of the container is C1. I want to run this in detached mode, and the image that I want to use is the Nginx latest. Now with that, the container will be running. So now, can we interact with the container shell? Yes, we can. We can think of container as a virtual machine. It's not exactly virtual machine, but in general, if you take virtual machines will contain operating system, but containers won't be containing the full-fledged operating system as we have discussed in yesterday's class. But can we interact with it? Yes, we can interact with the container shell. To do that, we have a command called docker exec, stands for execution, executing commands in the container in interactive mode. We have I and T options, and we can put them together using -it. Docker exec IT, that means I want to interact with the Docker container and execute commands. Which container? The container name is what? C1. Okay, C1. I think we are missing one argument. Yeah. So we have to interact with what? The shell of the container. Which shell? Bash shell. Okay, that we need to specify here. Docker exec IT executing containers in interactive mode. Which container? Out of many containers, I want to interact with this particular C1 container. And what is the shell? Bash shell. Now, this bash shell should be there in the container file system. Now, see, if you see here, the prompt now changed from the host to the container. That means now we are into the container shell. If you are into the container shell, if it is nginx, we know that where the index.html file will be there in the nginx. cd user share nginx. I remember correctly. Yeah, HTML. This is the directory. I switch to that directory. If I do ls, see, this is the index.html. This is the content that is shown to us when we access it. How to access, we'll learn going forward. For that, we have a concept called port forwarding. Now, this is the content that is displayed. This is how to interact with the container. Yeah, Deepak is asking, yeah, if the container is running, then only we can interact with it, right? We can't interact with the image also. Okay, so now how to come out of this shell? Now we are into the container shell. If you see this, what is this? This is a container ID. The host name of the container is container ID. Now to come out of this, we can use Control PQ or we can simply use exit. Right? So with that, what will happen? See, we exited from the shell of the container, but not the container itself. We exited from the Rolex. We will be learning that port forwarding. Okay, in the next class or next class, we will be learning it. Okay. Now, we have seen that thing. So to interact with any container, a shell, we need to use that exec_it command. Now, can we create operating system based containers? Yes, for them we have the base images for operating systems also. For example, this is our Ubuntu operating system and this is Linux machine. We can run the CentOS containers in this, or we can run the Ubuntu containers also. For that, let's search for Ubuntu. Okay, and this is a Debian. This is Ubuntu machine. Can we run CentOS? Yes, we can run CentOS. Okay, so this is the Docker official image for CentOS. This is deprecated inside. Why it was deprecated? Okay. Why it was deprecated? Okay, this is no longer supported, they are saying. Now let's search for Ubuntu. So this is Ubuntu. Okay, so click on, this is the Docker official Ubuntu image and it was updated 2 days ago. Now, container from this, what we can do directly, we can run the Docker run. Name of the container, let's name it as my Ubuntu. What's the image name? Ubuntu latest. Because this image is not already downloaded into machine, first the Docker will download it into our machine, then the container will be created from this. And one thing is, because this is operating system based image, because there is no application or process running inside this image, first what happens is, as soon as the container is created, the container will be stopped because there is no process running it. So what we will do is, now let me show that. I will try to run the container. What will happen? Let's see. see what happened. If you see in running thing, see that is no longer available. First, let me remove this for confusion. To avoid confusion, this C1 which we have created, Docker PS. See, we have created Ubuntu container, but where is it? It will be in exited container list because there was no process, there is no application. If you take Nginx, there is Nginx application is running, so that's why the container is in running state. But if you take Ubuntu image, this is just an operating system image because there is no process running in this. The container will be in exited state. Now, if it is in exited state, what I will do is I will remove it. Okay, I will remove it. How to keep it alive? So for that, let's create this and now let's interact with its shell. Anyway, there is no application is running. So can we interact with the shell of the Ubuntu container? Yes. For that, use -it in the run command. In the run command itself, we need to use -it. We need to use -it. That's it. We don't need to mention shell or anything. Okay. So if you hit this, see, we are into the container shell. We are into the container shell. So to come out of this container shell without exiting from the container, that means we want to just exit from the container shell, but not to stop the container. To do that, we need to use Control PQ simultaneously. If we use that, we will be exiting from the container terminal, but not the container. And if you see that your container is still running, to interact with it, then when the container is running, and if you want to interact with the running container, what's the command? Docker exec it. And what's the container name? Ubuntu exec it Ubuntu, and we need to give the shell. See, we are into that. We can create. This is, we are into different operating system. We are into another virtual machine kind of thing. So here we can create our file touch file1.txt. Okay, so the touch. So the file has been created. Where is that file? The file1.txt. Now see, we are into the Ubuntu container, not our host machine. Now what I will do is I want to edit that file. So if you see, vi command is not found. Vi command is not found. How to install it? apt update. Same thing, same Linux command we have to use. apt update. Let's update the apt package manager. Let's wind up this session in 2 or 3 minutes, friends. Once this is done, then apt install what? Let's install Win editor and approve this with Y. Bin file1.txt. See, this is line 1. Saved it, cat is installed, right? We are into what? We are into the Ubuntu container. How to exit from this? Control PQ simultaneously. See, this is, now if I go into that container called my Ubuntu, okay, and if you search for it, something is missed, bash is missed, and if you ls here, see that file is still there. Now Control PQ, that's it. If you want to kill that, Docker remove f my Ubuntu container. Okay, this is how to play with the container spins. We will be learning more of things, and we will be creating our own Docker images. And for some of you who doesn't have the knowledge of AWS, if you have created this, what we can do is we can terminate. We have to terminate this instance, otherwise it will be built. Or if you are not bothering about the build, then you can keep it running. or if you want to stop it, you can stop it. But when it is stopped, your storage will be there. For storage, it will be charged, but not to EC2. Okay. And if you want to get rid of all the billing when it is idle, you just have to click on this, click on instance state, and click on terminate instance, click on terminate. Okay, because I'm no longer going to use this till tomorrow. So I'm terminating this altogether. Got it, friends? And one more thing, friends, tomorrow most probably we may not be having the class. Okay, only tomorrow's a Saturday, but usually we will be having the class on Saturday also. Okay, so the institute people will be following up with you to get the payment done, and from Monday onwards, the new link will be shared, and that will be shared to the people who have paid money for it. That's all for today, friends. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Deepak, T2.micro is also sufficient, but if you are running more number of containers, okay, that may not be sufficient. Okay, that depends there on the workload that you want to run. Thank you, guys. Bye.